this was a moment that a lot of people. This is a video that a lot of people didn't even actually sit down and take the time out to look at. But it was something that was played in the press a whole lot. And for the hitters that's out there that know me, y'all probably know who I'm going to play. I want y'all to really listen to this because I remember when this happened, and so many people had so much to say. But when I went back and listened to it, I'm like, what did he say that was so egregious?
John, you know, Jim Brown, greatest of all time. And what people don't know, Kanye, everybody knows, right? Does the world know Kanye? What people don't know about Jim? They say, first of all, he's the best football player, but they say he was an even better lacrosse player. Do you think so?
No,
Huh? I've heard he was even at Syracuse. Well, it's great to have you, Jim. Great to have you. Kanye, it's great to be with you. And these are two friends of mine, and Kanye's been a friend of mine for a long time. And Jim came out of nowhere, and he said, I like what the president's doing. A long time ago, we met, right? And I just appreciate it very much. And, you know, if you look at the employment numbers, if you look at the median income, if you look at every single indicator, we're keeping our promise, Jim. Thank you. And I want to thank you. Yeah, I like North Korea too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's turned out to be good. Dialogue. We had a little dialogue.
I'm gonna play this video. I want y'all to sit back and listen to it. And I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna have some points to say as he speaks. I put my hat on. Y'all see me because you know what, and I'm gonna speak on this. Like, I worked too hard in my lifetime to sit back and not be honest, like about anything that I stand on. I'm gonna stand on business. Like, yes, put the cap on, and even with this cap, like this is not even the official joint. I'm waiting for the official joint to come in. This is like I just gonna wear this for tonight because I ain't gonna have the official joint by the time the election happens. But they ridiculed this man for stepping out and actually making a bold decision to just on his own accord. And people ridiculed him about him and cut jokes and called him out his name, said he was crazy and stuff like that. Man, and what I've learned in this lifetime is that, man, when sometimes you're gonna be right and people gonna ostracize you for that. And I always think about the time when I was in I was in grade school. I was in high school, and this girl, I don't want to say her full. I'm on Facebook. She might be a Facebook friend. I ain't gonna say her full name. Her name is Jennifer. Me and Jennifer are sitting. Um, we sitting in class one day, and she was like, "Norman, like, why you care about getting good grades?" And I was like, "You know what? Because you're not gonna pay my bills when I get up out of here." And also, too, the reason why I'm on the internet, and shout out to the person that gave me a thumbs down just now. I like that. Y'all can keep on. The reason why I'm even having this conversation with y'all right now is because I was a person that stepped out of what was normal to me, went out and traveled, learned about different, cultures and stuff like that, got out my comfort zone and actually learned what the world was about, what it meant to actually go out there and try to go get it and not be held back by certain narratives and what they tell our people to believe and all this other stuff. Or not even what they tell people to believe, but to believe about our own selves. I made this decision because I actually understand what's going on, and I have an actual thought process about how I think things really work and how people can actually benefit, how my children will actually benefit in the future and stuff like that. And I made a decision. And I would hope you would make the same decision when you come down to the same. You actually think about the things that's important to you, and what's going to be important to your family, you make a decision accordingly. Would I judge you for it? No. And if you judge me for it, I really don't care. Because there's been plenty of times when I've been right about something and it hasn't been the popular opinion. And I really don't care about being popular. I'd rather just stand out. Like, there was a lot of things that was popular around me when I was in the hood, and it wasn't the right thing, obviously. So I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna keep my hat on tonight.
And the Secretary of State just came back. Mike just came back from North Korea. We had very good meetings, and we'll meet again, but we're doing good. No more nuclear testing, no more missiles going up, no more nothing. And it's, that was headed to war. That was headed to war.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seemed like that close.
Yep, it was so close. I spoke to President Obama. I will tell you that was headed to war. And now it's going to be, I believe it's going to work out very well.
In hindsight, right? They're talking about war. This is the one president that didn't have any new wars underneath his belt. Actually got rid of situations. This is in hindsight. He talking about him sitting down with Obama. The thought process is that they were going to have to go to war. It didn't happen. This is to the people. This is to the people that was calling him, that actually thinks he's the person that you don't put the nuclear button in front of, or he's going to actually have us in wars. This is for those people. This is, we can go back in the past. Let's bring it to the future. Let's go.
We really stopped. We saved millions of lives. You know, Seoul has 30 million people. You don't realize how big. 30 million people right near the border, 30 miles off the border. Millions of people would have been killed. And I will say Chairman Kim has been really good, and we made a lot of progress. That's nice that you say that, because that's a big thing. These folks were covering North Korea, not very promisingly. There were a lot of problems. President Obama said that was his biggest problem. And I don't say anything solved.
But solved one of his biggest problems.
Yeah,
we solved one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, it was a big solving, and not solved yet, but I think we're along. I think we're on the way.
We know we did with some.
Yeah, no, we're well on our way.
You know what I mean, too.
In a short period of time, Jim. Very short period of time. You know, I left Singapore 3 months ago, and we've made a lot of progress, so it's very good. Hey, look, that's one of many things. But I appreciate everything with you. I tell you what, Kim was in. Mrs. Johnson, we got her out. She was very unfairly treated. And there are many other people like that.
We have Larry Hoover's lawyer with us today, and it's a prisoner that we're focused on. He has 6 life sentences, and they have him next to the Unabomber doing 23 and 1.
What did he do, Larry? What happened? What did he do?
Why is he in?
Yes, tell me. Tell us the story.
Allegedly, it's for conspiracy from prison, from state prison. It's alleged. But we do believe, even if he did commit those crimes, the sentence was overly broad.
What was the sentence?
6 consecutive life sentences in the most secure prison in the world, also known as the clean version of hell, for basically an economic crime.
What prison is that? Name the prison.
ADX Supermax in Florence, Colorado. They house Unabomber, Al-Qaeda operatives, mass killers, Oklahoma City bomber, things of that nature.
How old is he? How old?
68.
He's 68 years old?
68 years old.
And really, the reason why they imprisoned him is because he started doing positive for the community. He started showing that he actually had power, that he wasn't just one of a monolithic voice, that he could wrap people around. So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free, because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I'm moving back to Chicago. And it's not just about, getting on stage and being an entertainer and having a monolithic voice that's forced to be a specific party. People expect that if you're black, you have to be Democrat. I've had conversations that basically said that welfare is the reason why a lot of black people end up being Democrat. They say, first of all, it's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs, and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. And then we got rid of the mental health institutes in the 80s and the 90s, and the prison rates just shot up. And now you
Facts. Now, one thing I will say about Kanye is that he zigzags when he talks. So he's talking about multiple things here. First and foremost, welfare. Yeah, a lot of black families tied themselves to the Democrats because of welfare, public housing, etc. I come from that. That's a fact. You was incentivized to have a bunch of kids. You was also incentivized to not have a father in the household. These are facts. Because that was another source of income. So basically, you was like, there's no man here. It's just a woman and a bunch of kids. To get the biggest stipend, or to get the biggest support from the federal government. And a lot of black people tied themselves to that thought process. Shout out to Detroit. One of the things that my wife brings up all the time is about the mental institutions. One thing I never seen this at a wide scale. And maybe because like Detroit, the way Detroit is built out, I always say Detroit is like it's like a metropolitan, it's like a city, it's like a country metropolitan city, because the city itself is spread out. Unless you like downtown Detroit, that kind of gives you a sense of like a big city, a big East Coast city. But as you go to the outskirts, like it's kind of spread out, just like a southern city, a southern town. But anyway, as I was, really kind of moving around Detroit, whatever, kind of seeing things, I would see these vacant buildings, big vacant buildings. These are vacant schools. These were vacant hospitals. They got a vacant school. Shout out to Belle Island, Belle Isle. I was out there. Vacant zoo. But they also had vacant mental institutions, and these people were let out into the world. My wife talks about that a whole lot. I never really understood. I mean, when she first started talking about it, I never understood why she talked about it. But then as I kind of moved around Detroit, I kind of got an idea, and she kind of works in that realm of thing. She worked in that realm of things, so like she kind of understood the impact and the patients that weren't getting the proper help. And then even here in Charlotte, right, we are impacted by people that's out in the street. If y'all want me to pick my camera up right now, I could probably zoom in on somebody that's right now on the sidewalk, right outside, right here. These are. He still ain't said nothing crazy yet. If you actually follow what he's saying, he ain't said nothing crazy yet. Did he say he wanted in an alternate universe? If you get caught into that, yeah, you might not understand what he's talking about. I'm like Kanye rock.
Chirac, what people call Chirac, which is actually our murder rate is going down by 20% every year. I just talked to the superintendent, met with Michael Sachs, that's Rom's right-hand man. So I think it's the bravery that helps.
I'm gonna stop him right there. I looked at this video because this kind of sat on my heart. I was like, you know what? Let me go back and look at this Kanye West video. And when he said this about Chicago, right? I was like, yo, well, what was the rates of homicides in Chicago, like over the past couple of years? Like, what happened? Let me share my screen. If you look, this is Wikipedia, and should be. Let me see something real quick. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm gonna show because again, like crime in Chicago. All right, this is Wikipedia, and we can get into like some more stats. Look at the years. Be conscious of the years, right? And the percentages. You got murder. You got the count, right? The number. Then you got murder homicide rate per 100,000, and then you got a reported murder clearance rate. If you look at the percentage points, right, from 2016, you can see it dropped 27 to 24. 2018, it dropped to 20. 2019, it dropped to 18. 2020, a 10% increase. 2021, another 1% increase. 2022, and then it dropped. And then it actually dropped again last year, 2023, 22. But it still ain't as low as it was in them years. In a city like Chicago, like, this was something that they were talking about back then as being an issue, and the number is technically still higher now. Cities like that impacted by these Democrats or whatever, and their policies and stuff like that, and the people that's actually in their local government, and some of the stuff that they've been doing that just basically, killing their actual, local, what's the word I want to say? I shouldn't say killing, but like impacting their local areas, counties, cities, neighborhoods around their city. Even the fact that they're a sanctuary city, they one of those sanctuary cities where a lot of people that's immigrants coming into their city could be a part of this, even that spike. These are the type of impacts that I don't think people like really start to think about. Like when you got somebody like this sitting out there telling y'all stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2021, 2022, or 2020, 2021, you could say pandemic. But still, the fact of the matter is murder, the murder rate goes up. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I don't think the pandemic caused people to go outside and start murdering people. I'm gonna play some more. I mean, I'm just saying, man. Correlation ain't necessarily causation. Those were years of Biden. But what I will say is that you probably should look more into that, right? And what's part of those numbers, and understand like what defund the police and all this other stuff. What these things really, what's the real impact on a local level? Like, I'm gonna play some more Kanye. Y'all remember, right? Everybody was really cool. Like, they called him crazy because he was up here and they say he was chucking and jiving. He was being this, that, and the third because he went up there and he spoke his mind. I'm gonna play some more of this.
Beat this game called life. They tried to scare me to not wear this hat. My own friends, but this hat, it gives me power.
He said lockdowns too. I guess because people, I don't know, man. Y'all tell me. If because they were locked down, they was shooting each other more. Like, they just had more idle, and it could be a little bit. They had more idle time on their hands. But we've been out of it for a minute, and that rate is still higher than it was in the past. I think it came down again this year for 2024. We had to look up the new number.
My dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. And also, I'm married to a family that, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful, though. But there's times where, it's something about, I love Hillary. I love everyone, right? But the campaign, I'm with her, just didn't make me feel as a guy that didn't get to see my dad all the time, like a guy that could play catch with his son. There was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman. That's my favorite superhero. And you made a Superman cape for me also as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Rap Lauren, looks up to American industry guys. Non-political, no bullshit. Put the beep on it, however you want to do it, 5 seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done right now.
And I'm going to speak to this. Because a lot of people clipped up that part when he was calling him Superman. He was like, oh yeah, he kissing behind and all that other man. Right now, what you are seeing, and I think part of it, I'm really breaking down this video because there's a lot of parallels I see in what he was talking about back then into what you seeing going into this political race. One of the things you are seeing is men, and I told y'all months ago, I said you're gonna have to watch out for black men or whatever, because men, I think over the last couple of decades, that for whatever reason, right? Maybe it could be our society becoming easier to live in or whatnot, but there's been somewhat of an attack on masculinity, and I think you can you could agree with this or not, but I think a lot of what Trump, his communication style, him just kind of standing on business and stuff like that, a lot of men that's resonating with them. They may not be saying it out loud, but that's men, that communication style, that kind of like that braggadocious, rhetoric, whatnot. It is resonating with them. You can like it or not. I'm just being. I think even with Kanye, he's explaining in a certain roundabout way. But what he's saying is that, yo, like, I recognize him as a man that can get the job done. And I want a man like I like when I see a dude that can actually, put his foot down, stand on business, and get the job done. And I've seen him do that in business. I'm not worrying about how I feel about what you're saying. Again, right or wrong, that's resonating with, especially I think younger men. These are real talking points. These are things that you really get to if you start to step back and just start analyzing and saying like, yo, like, why is this happening? That's why I think tomorrow, like, I don't know, you might be in for a surprise. We want to see. But the things that you've been hearing about, these are not just, it just started yesterday. Like, this is 2016. This is 6 years ago. And Kanye was kind of tripping up and saying certain things that I think you see more prevalent 6 years later. He was just more bold enough to say it out loud in public and have a platform.
You gave me the heart to go to Adidas because at Adidas, when I went in 2015, we were a $14 billion company losing $2 billion a year. Now we have a $38 billion market cap. It's called the Yeezy effect. And I went to Casper. We had a meeting in Chicago. And I said, you have to bring manufacturing onshore, not even shore, into the core. It's not about the borders, the core of Adidas. And Chicago is the core of Middle America. We have to make Middle America strong. So I had the balls, because I had enough balls to put on this hat. I mean, this Adidas thing made me a billionaire. And I could have lost $200 million walking away from that deal. But even with that, I knew it was more important for me to take the chance of walking away from that deal than to have no fathers in Chicago with no homes. And when we do have prison reparation for no...
He's zigzagging again. We mentioned that. Now, obviously, we know what happened with the Adidas deal. But what he mentioned that, manufacturing here in America. Again, what's wrong with that? Me and the family, we just went to the mountain this weekend. We went to Crowder's, and we was in Gastonia and whatnot. And one of the things at Gastonia, I was listening to the rally in Gastonia, and this is something that actually I remember too, because it used to be a company that had an advertisement, like a billboard on the side of the road. Small city, small town, I should say. It's not a city, but they used to be known for making furniture. That company is gone, poof. Matter of fact, like, I remember buying furniture from probably like 2 decades ago. Oh shoot, almost 2 decades ago. Shoot, crazy. To today, like, like maybe a couple years ago, I'm like, yo, I can't even really find good American furniture unless you go to like the Tippy. Like, you getting pressed wood, and like cherry wood and stuff like that you can go find. Like, let's not even get into it, man. So another thing that's been talked about, right? Trump always been talking about bringing manufacturing back to America. That sounds American to me. I don't know about, like, give people opportunity.
it's habilitation, not rehabilitation, because we didn't have the abilities in the first place. We never had anyone that taught us. We didn't teach us. Exactly, we had no one that taught us, right? So it's more important than any specific deal, anything that we bring jobs into America, and that we provide a transition with mental health and the American education curriculum that Jim has worked on. Larry Hoover also has a curriculum that he's worked on. We have Montessori curriculums that we worked on. WeWorks has a beautiful curriculum. The Waldorf establishment has a curriculum. We have meditation. There's a lot of things affecting our mental health that makes us do crazy things, that puts us back into that trap door called the 13th Amendment. I did say abolish with the hat on, because why would you keep something around that's a trap door? If you build in a floor, the Constitution is the base of our industry, right? Of our country, of our company. Would you build a trap door that if you mess up and you accidentally something happens, you fall and you end up next to the Unabomber? You got to remove all that trapdoor out of the relationship. The four gentlemen that wrote the 13th Amendment, and I think the way the universe works, it's perfect. We don't have 13 floors, do we? You know, so the four gentlemen that wrote the 13th Amendment didn't look like the people they were amending. Also, at that point, it was illegal for blacks to read, or African Americans to read. And so that meant if you actually read the amendment, you get locked up and turned to a slave. Again, so what I think is we don't need sentences, we need pardons. We need to.
All right, so I'm gonna keep on breaking it down, because I think, man, like, unless you really thinking about what this man is saying, right, you can get lost in the words. I think back then he was talking about getting rid of the 13th Amendment, which is the amendment that was to abolish slavery, right? I didn't really, you know what? I have another video, and I literally did not prep it for this. Now that I'm thinking about it, but it fits it fits into this. The thought process. I think when Kanye was saying this, now this is one of those things that he was saying that a lot of people was like, "What? He want to bring slavery back? What? He got the hat on? Is he going crazy?" What he means is he looks at the 13th Amendment as something as a crutch. One thing in our community, because a lot of us do have a victimhood mentality to us, we do, right? We use slavery, and we use a lot, which is something that none of us really have experienced. We just didn't live long enough. We use that and then say, systemic racism and all those different things. And we use, not to say that none of these things exist, but what he's saying is that when you lean into it, you block yourself from your own blessing. So it's almost like a constantly reminding yourself about what happened prior to you can impede on your progress moving forward. You're more worried about what happened in the past versus trying to build on what you have today, whatever it is that you have foundationally. That's what he's talking about. Like, I understood it back then, and a lot of people wasn't catching context to what he was saying, and they would just call him crazy. One thing I will say is that he's not the best communicator, and if you're not trying to follow him, he will lose you in the words. I used to say it all the time. But if you listen to what he's actually trying to say, he still ain't saying nothing wrong, because what he said was true. And it's one of the things that, for myself, like, the reason why I was able to break through a lot of the things that were supposed to hold me back in my lifetime is because I didn't ever think of myself as some type of victim. I looked at what I had. I looked at the circumstances, and I was like, you know what? Okay, this is what I'm working with. How can I build on that? Let's get to this. I want to get out the hood. All right, cool. How do I figure that out? I want to get out I want to get out my impoverished situation. Like, okay, like, let me try to figure this out. And I never looked at it like, oh, woe is me. Like, I just looked at it like, okay, cool. Like, this is a challenge in front of me. Like, today I have challenges in front of me. That's what he's talking about. Like, I'm bringing context to it because a lot of people listening to this back in the day, and it was like, oh, they clicked them up. They said all they heard was Superman abolished the 13th Amendment, and he got a hat on.
talk to people. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was connected with a neuropsychologist that works with the athletes in the NBA and the NFL. And he looked at my brain. It's equal on 3 parts. I'm going to go ahead, drop some bombs for you. 98 percentile IQ test. I had a 75 percentile of all human beings, but it was counting 8 numbers backwards off there as a B. So I'm going to work on that one. The other one's 98% Tesla, Freud. So he said that I actually wasn't bipolar. I had sleep deprivation, which could cause dementia 10 to 20 years from now, where I wouldn't even remember my son's name. So all this power that I got, and I'm taking my son to the Sox game and all that, I wouldn't be able to remember his name from a misdiagnosis. And what we need is we can empower the pharmaceuticals and make more money. That's one thing. I've never stepped into a situation where I didn't make people more money. So we can empower pharmaceuticals, we can empower our industries, we can empower our factories, we can bring not only Adidas on shore, we can bring Foxconn to set up a factory in, I think, Minnesota, 53,000.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. They have 4,000 jobs, people making $53,000 a year. And one of the things we got to set is Ford to have the highest design, the dopest cars, the most amazing. I don't really say dope. I don't say negative words and try to flip them. We just say positive, lovely, divine, universal words. So the flyest, freshest, most amazing car. And what we want to start with is, I brought a gift with me right here. This right here is the iPlane 1. It's a hydrogen-powered airplane, and this is what our president should be flying in. Look at this shirt.
So get rid of Air Force One. Can we get rid of Air Force One? No, you don't like that.
Well, we're going to have Apple, an American company, work on this plane with. But you know what I don't like about? It's not that I don't like. What I need Saturday Night Live to improve on, and what I need the liberals to improve on is, if he don't look good, we don't look good. This is our president. He has to be the freshest, the flyest planes, the best factories, and we have to make our core be empowered. We have to bring jobs into America because our best export is entertainment and ideas. But when we make everything in China and not in America, then we're cheating on our country. And we're putting people in positions to have to do illegal things to end up in the cheapest factory ever, the prison system.
Mm. Kick game. And I remember so many people was like, oh, he's pandering to this man and all the. What did he say it was wrong? Like, again, I don't know why people are so like it's so crazy is we so used to buying things cheaply made from other countries that we don't even think about it. And then we worry about slavery, and then we buying stuff like I have an iPhone. All right, I have an iPhone right here, and obviously, I don't know if y'all heard about the chips company that or the manufacturing company for the iPhone over there in China, where they got nets off the building to keep people from committing suicide or jumping out the building. And we buy our stuff from companies like that. I mean, from manufacturers like that. Blood money basically is being made, and somehow like when somebody is pro, okay, yeah, he's like tariffs. That's what the 20% sales tax is that Kamala keep on talking about. It's a tariff. It's tariffs to incentivize you if you're going to sit up here and you're going to try to exploit the country with, if not, I think we got the highest GDP in the world, and you're going to sell goods to that country. Well, look, we're going to tax you for that to get access to that consumer base. Okay, if you don't want to get taxed, hey, well, make your products here. You get taxed less. That's what it is. That is literally what it is. And your bargaining chip is that the American dollar is a strong currency, and a lot of people in America make a lot of American dollars. That's it. That is the game. If you want access to those American dollars and not have to pay this tax, then you should manufacture your products here in America. That's the game. It's not it's not a sales tax. Like it's such a weird world we live in. Again, like go out there and do your due diligence, y'all. Educate yourselves.
I'll tell you what, that was pretty impressive. I hate to say this, Jim. Do you want to say something? What do you do after that?
If you don't mind,
You are please, Jim, please. Right. Great, right? Isn't that a great statement? And it's so true. As a country, it's so true. Very impressed. I've never seen Jim Brown impressed before. He was impressed. That's true. That statement is amazing, huh? I want to tell you, it's great to have you guys with us. And we're going to go in, we're going to have some lunch. That was quite something. That was quite
It was
something.
from the soul.
No. It's really very interesting. Yes, yeah, please.
So you had said of President Bush that he doesn't care about black people. And you've heard some people say that about this president. How do you respond to that? What do you think of that?
I think we need to care about all people. And I believe that when I went on to NBC, I was very emotional and I was programmed to think from a victimized mentality, a welfare mentality. I think that with blacks and African Americans, we really get caught up in the idea of racism over the idea of industry. We say if people don't have land, they settle for brands. We want Polo Sport and Obama again. We want a brand more than we want land because we haven't known how it feels to actually have our own land and have ownership of our own blocks. So when you don't have ownership, then it's all about how something looks. It's about the patina. It's not about the soil. It's not about the core. So we focus more on, is somebody wearing something? Does someone disrespect me? So I gotta shoot them? Or the idea of someone being racist. You know, we talk about police murders, which we definitely have to discuss, and we have to bring nobility to the police officers and make them, because police officers are just like us. But there's this whole hate building, right? And that's a major thing about racial tension. And we also...
So he's hard, man. He zigs and he zags like hell. So you brought up a profound point, right? When he went on, was it MTV? MTV had the little news clip, and he said not Donald Trump, but George Bush don't care about black people, and that was crazy. That was around the time. What was that? Around Katrina. I think Katrina actually, the efforts with FEMA down in New Orleans with Katrina, I think is what sparked him to say that. And he taught how his mentality changed. And I think that's something too. Like I think when you start to experience more life, right, outside of your blocks and outside the places that you're from, and you start getting different perspectives, like you start to kind of lose that mentality. You really do. Like I think some people still cling to it. I think some people are just ashamed, not ashamed. They're afraid to go against the grain when it comes to that. I think some people are just afraid, right? A lot of people don't want to be ostracized. A lot of people won't get on the internet and put this hat on. Like I never really cared about stuff like that, and I don't think it's going to negatively impact me because like what I do, especially what I do for a living, like I'm good at it to a point where something like this, like if this, I'm on no. So I just do what I want to do. I've always been the type of person move at the beat of my own drum. But when it comes to like talking about this like victimhood mentality, it is a real thing. And it's one of those things that you will pigeonhole your own self, thinking that the world is holding you back. It's just like it's like with sports, for example. Sports, a lot of sports is 90% mental, 10% physical. Obviously, you need the physicality to perform the sports, but to really take it to the next level, it's mental. That's why, like, it's always crazy. It's like God puts us in a conundrum because when we're young, we got all the physicality in the world. We the most spry when it comes to physical. But then as you get older, your mental becomes stronger. So it's almost like you're trying to figure out you're trying to find that middle ground of when your mental can meet your physical. So it's always funny, like when you see like old ball players in the gym, right? They older, so they can't move physically like they used to, but their mental has advanced so much that the game itself has slowed down to them. So you'll see like an older cat in the gym, he moving slow, but he getting buckets. Where these cats that's young, they moving fast. They exerting all this energy to get the same buckets this old dude is getting. But he's like, yo, all right, cool. I'm just gonna back you down for this one. Boom, off the bat board, go down the court. The game is slowed down in his brain, so like he can manage the game a whole lot easier than a young cat that just got all the physicality in the world. And I think the same thing comes to this discussion. A lot of times we mentally block ourselves and say, well, this, that, and the third is our reality. So physically, you can't even perform. That's why I got a young lady telling me, and the funny thing about the young lady telling me something is that I come from a worse situation than she did. And she the one asking me, why do I care about actually doing the right thing and trying to figure out a way out of my situation? She more worried about looking cool to the rest of the people. I'm like, check this out. I'm gonna still be cool. I'm gonna still be that dude, and I'm gonna get mine. And that's exactly what happened. I'm gonna put this hat on. I'm still gonna be that dude where I go. This is more
I
Kanye.
think we have to take a responsibility for what we're doing. We kill each other more than police officers. And that's not saying that the police officer is not an issue because they are in a position of power. But sometimes they're in placement of law enforcement. They need to be law power. It's force versus power. You shouldn't have to force people to do that. So a lot of times a police officer is sitting there, they're being forced to do this and forced to do that block, and then they force somebody into something and force something. We have to release the love throughout the entire country and give opportunities. A lot of times it's just the overall lack of reparations that we, at any given point, we say, oh, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist. So we don't have the reparations, but we have the 13th Amendment. We got to open up the whole conversation. So, and that's a move. One of the moves that I love that liberals tried to do, the liberal would try to control a black person through the concept of racism because they know that we are very proud, emotional people. So when I said I like Trump to like someone that's liberal, they'll say, oh, but he's racist. You think racism can control me?
I'm telling you, bro, like I looked at this video and I was like, oh my God, this is pretty much 2024. This is literally the rhetoric that they've been using today. Oh, he's racist. Like, so why would you? And I think that it cuts it when somebody says that, it cuts such a deep knife that you don't even think to go past the word. Like, okay, hold up. You said that. It kind of looks like he might be racist, so I'm just gonna believe it. Racism did control Ye. The professor expressed like you gotta give me context. If anybody wants to, let me see. I didn't even drop the link. You gotta give me context. How did racism control him? He literally went against the grain. This is the funny part about when people say certain things like, people did this for. I always think about how like somebody like a Kanye, right? He had everything to lose, and he literally lost a lot doing this. He got canceled. Trump didn't. But whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? man, let's talk about it. That's a good point. So he put himself on the line, right, to step out there and say, you could be, y'all talking about freedom. I could be a black man and have a free thought to think different, or to think for myself and say, this is the decision I'm making. He said with Adidas, well, I think he want. I think with Adidas, he wanted to be out that contract. For whatever reason, he didn't want to be with Adidas anymore. So we talked, we broke that down so many different ways. I honestly, I think I think once he realized that, all right, we're gonna talk about Adidas real quick. I think with Kanye, he said it earlier, right? He pretty much looked at himself as somebody that saved Adidas. He's basically saying that year over year they were losing money prior to him. That's basically what he said earlier in this interview, in this sit down right here. I think in Kanye's mind is because of that, he felt like he should have a place at the board. He put this out there. Also, too, Adidas was impacting his manufacturing. So if y'all remember, like the first, so I still have the first foam runner. That foam runner, that the first one was made in the USA. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to it tonight. We really get into the nitty gritty. All right, foam runner. This is a size 11, made in the USA. If y'all remember when this thing released, one of the major things was that he wanted manufacturing of this sneaker in the US. To this day, that's the best. This foam runner right here that was made in the USA is still to this day the best one to the toe. It is way softer. I know y'all, a lot of y'all love foam runners. This one right here feels the best to the toe. That's truly the algae foam that they advertised. Now, the shiny foam runners that y'all been seeing has been made in China. So I think a lot of what Kanye had revolutionary thoughts about manufacturing around his product. Also, too, if y'all remember, he used to have biblical names to his sneakers. So the Azarus. I'm trying to think of some of the names, but he had biblical names to his sneakers. Adidas was like, nah, we don't want that. You gotta just give them, regular names. He also wanted they also wanted to control his manufacturing. And then we heard about it after the fact when he, was going through it with Adidas, that all those different colorways they were making, he didn't even co-sign them colorways. He wanted more control over the product. So I really think when it comes down to Adidas, he asked to be at the board. Once he didn't, he was like, "Nah, dude, we it is what it is." I think he self-sabotaged. Adidas is a German company. It makes, like, if you really want to get out of it, honestly, like, the only way he could get out that contract was by trying to break the like, basically, I don't know, try to do something egregious to the point where they let him out the contract. And he did what he did. It's a German company, and he playing around with anti-Semitism, or whatever. It's it's not coincidental. It's not coincidental that he went that route of self-detonation. He wanted out that contract, and I do believe that he feels like, I don't know where he's at in life right now. I think so much occurred, so much happened to him. Either going through divorce, no telling what's going on right now with this whole Diddy situation. I don't know if he's hopefully my man Kanye good. So maybe that's the reason why he laying this election cycle. this election cycle, he has not said a peep. So either y'all ran that man into a hole, he just like, yo, I'm done with just putting myself out there like that, which I think sometimes some people, I've been there too. I'm like, man, you know what? I'm just done. I'm done. I'm done talking to y'all. Y'all have it. So, I think when you talk about from a racism standpoint, I think he self detonated that situation. But I get what you're saying. But I think he self detonated that situation for whatever reason. You can call it ego. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But I don't know if you can call it racism. But I think he went overboard. He went overboard on purpose. All right, let's keep it going, man. But I'm telling you, like, a lot of what he's talking about in this video, I'm like, it's eerie because it's like that's the same thing that's going on today.
Oh, that don't stop me. That's an invisible wall.
Mr. West, what would you like?
But you don't think
Oh, your question. You had one question. We're gonna go to another question. Okay. I answered your question. I don't answer questions in simple sound bites. You are tasting a fine wine. It has multiple notes to it. You better play 4D chess with me like it's Minority Report, because it ain't that simple. It's complex.
Mr. West, what would you like? I'm going to Chicago sometime, so I would like to know what you would like to ask President Trump to do for Chicago. You're here to talk about crime in Chicago.
The thing that the head of the police and Mike Sachs met with me last night at the Soho House about was we feel that stop and frisk does not help the relationships in the city. And everyone that knew I was coming here said ask about stop and frisk. That's the number one thing that we're having this conversation about. Another thing is opening up industries, and we've got to get some tax breaks because we're making we got a speed factory in Atlanta, but the shoes are costing us $300, so it's costing us too much to make things. So we need some prototypes here so we can get people back working. So China can't just beat us, and Vietnam can't beat us. You got Levi's, the greatest jeans company in the world, making their jeans in Vietnam. So we're going to need to get a few breaks to be able to have some places in my hometown of Chicago and the 2.7 million to the 9 million surrounding suburbs where we can create some factories. Now, I think it would be cool for them to be Trump factories because he's a master of industry. He's a builder. And I think
And one of the things, Ty, what's good, big dog, what's good? One of the things I always like just bugs me when people's like, he going up there and doing all that. This is called the same thing that when they accused Donald Trump of talking to or just talking to Russia, talking to North Korea and stuff like that. Have y'all not understand diplomacy? Like even him, like right now, Kanye about to bring up things that he wants. And he's literally sitting at the table like we got into a point in this world where we so slow, it's like, because I don't agree with you or I don't like who you are, I'm not going to have a sit down with you and have a conversation. Have y'all ever thought, even I'm not going to say like the art of war or something like that. If you have an enemy, for example, like if you have somebody that's an enemy and y'all on opposing sides of things, sometimes y'all might have to work together for a common good to keep both of y'all afloat. Right? Like it's not all the time you're going to just be going at each other. And most of the time, the thing that's going to take you down is not your enemy. It's because you see your enemy coming. You can see him coming. It's the person right next to you. So but when it comes to having conversations, you should be able to have a conversation with anybody when it comes to actually having a negotiation or actually trying to figure out how to pan a way forward. Y'all can have y'all differences, y'all grievances, on the side, but if push comes to shove, for example, like nuclear war, something that's real in our world today, you damn right. You should have a conversation with people, with countries that have nuclear weapons. You'd be dumb to just be sitting up there and call them the enemy and just not have no kind of conversation with them. You need to have a conversation. That's just called common sense. to keep all of us alive. Man, like I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like y'all people just be falling into these damn traps. And people just idiots. Or not the people, but the platforms are idiots. And have y'all just listening to rhetoric that don't make sense. This is just human common sense.
Would have Yeezy ideation centers, which would be.
Kanye went up there to negotiate. He wanted Larry Hoover to be free. He wanted Stop and Frisk to stop in Chicago. He's talking about manufacturing for his company, and maybe his company being able to. This is again. I think this is around. We have to figure out the time he started kicking up dust with Adidas, but this feels like this is around the time that he probably started to go to Adidas and was like, "Hey, I want to sit at the board. So when we make moves like this, or I can actually enable moves like this that he's presenting at this table right here."
A mix of education that empowers people and gives them modern information. Like sometimes people say, this kid has ADD, this kid has ADD. He don't have ADD, school is boring. It was boring, it's not as exciting as this. We have to make it more exciting, we have to mix curriculums. You play
Man, you ain't gotta do all that. It's a lot of times these kids ain't got ADD, they just need discipline.
basketball while you're doing math. You learn about music while you meditate in the morning. We have to instate mental health and art programs back into the city. So those are, and also Larry Hoover is an example of a man that was turning his life around. And as soon as he tried to turn his life around, they hit him with 6 life sentences. So I believe you say don't tear down the statues. Larry Hoover is a living statue. He's a beacon for us that needs to see his family, that needs to go out and represent. When you have a block leader on every single block, they can own the block as their own. That's something I learned from Jim Brown from A Mayor I Can. We need to put curriculums from people who really came from the streets, not people who are just trying to set us up to go into a work system or prison system that applies to what people are really going through, which Jim Brown has created.
What about gun violence with all the debate about the Second Amendment going on?
The problem is illegal guns. Illegal guns is the problem, not legal guns. We have the right to bear arms.
President Trump has said that he favors stop and frisk. Are you guys going to be discussing that? Do you think you can change his mind?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss. I didn't mean to put you on blast like that, bro. But it's definitely.
I'm open-minded. I'm here. Yeah. I am open-minded.
Case in point. He's for something. The other, I'm not for it. Right. This is perfect timing that I even bring it up. You have a conversation. You're like, yo, let's have a conversation. That's how you make a deal work. Let's meet in the middle somewhere. It was so many people when this happened. They was like throwing so much salt at this man for just simply having a conversation and saying a bunch of stuff, maybe in a roundabout way that if you don't want to try to keep up, you're not gonna understand. But like, he ain't said nothing wrong.
He can speak for me anytime he wants.
And I guarantee you, if I play any videos from MSNBC, the networks that y'all listen to from a left media standpoint, they made this man out to be a coon, basically, or whatever you want to call him. Negative. Made him out to be crazy.
Great guy. He's a smart cookie. Smart. He gets it. These two guys, Jim Brown, he's been doing this for a long time.
Is a future presidential candidate?
Could very well be.
Only after.
Could very well be. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
We have a good, and the thing is, let's stop worrying about the future. All we really have is today. We just have today, over and over and over again, the eternal return, the hero's journey. And Trump is on his hero's journey right now. And he might not have expected to have a crazy motherfucker like Kanye West run up and support. But best believe, we are going to make America great. Now, the thing is, another thing is black people have an issue with the word again. And I believe my feeling from that is because I'm going to go all the way Sigmund with it, because time is a myth. All we have is now, all we have is today. So the word again, it doesn't hurt us because of the idea of racism and slavery and different things. It hurts us because we need to focus on who we are now, today. I believe. So I actually brought some hats in that have a bit of a transition. I'm not trying to put you up there, spot a little bit. I made a hat that says "Make America Great," just that. But I would love to see at the Super Bowl Trump wearing the "Make America Great" hat, Colin wearing the "Make America Great," and showing that we can bend a bit on this side, we can bend a bit on this side, and we can learn how to be malleable in the infinite universe that we are and the loving beings that we are. That we don't have to stick to all traditions. And we aren't a side. We are one unit. We are one country. We are one moment in history and time. We might have been here before, but right now, we're here together. And the greatest value that people have are other people. And we need to stop working on red and blue. It's like a gang again.
Let me ask you this question. You're in the Oval Office.
Okay.
How does it feel to be in the Oval Office?
Oh, it is good energy in this.
Any good energy? Yeah.
It's good energy.
It's a great place. Jim, how do you feel?
I feel good.
Yeah.
I truly feel good. I thank you too.
You're so respected. And what Kanye's doing has been incredible. All over the world, they're talking about this. And I have to tell you, I had important meetings today with senators and with everything. Nobody cared. They wanted this meeting. This is the meeting. Is that right? I can say that to John. No, the others were good, right? But this is what they want.
Maybe only you would be here.
Well, it's my honor, Jim. I want to tell you, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. Long time. Nobody like you. Nobody like you. No athlete like you.
Well, you know why I'm here? I'm here to serve.
Yeah, it's really nice, man.
I'm not here to ask for anything.
Well,
I'm
and you know, that's always been the way Jim has been for a long time. And he just wanted to help, and it's something special. Jennifer, did you have a question?
I guess just what do you feel about Tom Frisk? Were you gonna?
Well, we're going to look at it. I'm open to everything. Hey, look, I think it's a shame what's happening in Chicago.
What else can be done?
I'm in Chicago a lot too. I have nice things in Chicago. You know that, right? And I hate to see what's happening. They're having the numbers of people being shot and killed, and it's not for this country. So they have to do something, and I am totally open. If we can do it a different way, Kanye, I'm totally open. But they have to do. I mean, we all agree they have to do something. That's
Mr.
for sure.
President, is it a law enforcement issue, a legislation?
Well, maybe it's a
legislative
combination
issue?
of both. Yeah, I guess it is, but I think it's probably a combination of both. And it's also a respect issue. They respect this guy, they respect this guy. That's a big thing. Right now, they're not respecting,
And hold on.
let's say, your mayor or let's say your leadership in Chicago, but certainly it shouldn't be happening.
This is sort of like some I was like forecasting, but basically, you know, even like this respect thing. Like I know a lot of people find they like, oh, this immunity thing, this immunity thing. One of the things is it was sort of like his olive branch to law enforcement to say, hey, look, we got your back of some type of way, and it's not full immunity. It's immunity, you know, basically under the guise that you actually, you know, follow the policies and the rules and regulations that's in front of you as an officer. That's the whole idea that it's not blanket. Like they try to make it out to be like, oh, like somehow like you can just do whatever you want to do and you can get off. That's not what it is. And I think the point and the purpose of it was to try to ignite some type of energy into the law enforcement and law enforcement in general across America to say, hey, look, man, we see y'all doing a job that a lot of people don't like to do, and we do have y'all back because y'all exposed on a daily basis. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I know me and shout out to New Wave. Me and New Wave had a long debate about just defunding the police and all that. Man, look, man. I shout out to the folks that's going out there and putting their life on the line. Now, if you crooked, you know, you crooked. Like, I don't care for you. But as a whole, I don't think that's the case. And I believe that what he's saying right here is part of that energy of what you see today and legislation that he wants to put in place to let the police know, like, yo, we got your back. Higher morale. I think if you get higher morale out of the police department, you're going to see better, better service to the community. But if y'all have officers and law enforcement, folks in your family or like in your community that y'all know you have conversation, I say, man, have a real conversation with them. Ask them about their experiences out there, on the line. In the line of duty. And I think you'd be surprised, man. Like some of the experiences that even some of y'all family members, if they in law enforcement are experiencing, they probably not even saying it. They just saying, "Oh well, it comes with the job." So
What's going on there should not be happening. Steve, go ahead.
What do you want this meeting to lead to in terms of prison?
Honestly, from our standpoint, this was just set up to be a lunch of two people that I like, and I guess they like me. And we're gonna have lunch. We're gonna talk.
You said, I guess you know I love you.
I know.
Did I?
But I don't want to put you in that spot. But
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here. Yeah.
even so many people still shot at that hug like it was something nasty. He's showing love, man. That's crazy.
that's really nice. And that's from the heart. I didn't want to put you in that position, but that's from the heart. Special guy. These two are special people. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, they're special people. And I appreciate it. Jim, Kanye, I appreciate it. So
We'll leave it there. I wanted to play that, man, because I thought it was so much in there, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is them talking about today. We talking about the same thing 6 years later, and people falling for the same trap six years later.